Shirts and skins, let's get it, yo. Shirts and skins and we back again. The best coverage in college sports, we come to win. With Brandon, Mark, and Matt, no one go hard as that. Share it with your folks and they'll learn where it all be at. It's just three of the guys, childhood friends that be setting the vibe. With a few hot takes, jokes, and predictions. Love the Boise State, we now welcome you to listen. Shirts and skins, let's go.
Bronco Nation, what is up? This is the Shirts and Skins podcast. I'm Matt Lamb. We've got Brandon Minert here. We've got Mark Moss here. We've got a special guest in studio joining us today.
Yeah, baby.
Jordan Kaye.
Jordan Kaye.
Welcome, Jordan.
Thank you guys.
You guys probably remember him from his time with Bronco Nation News.
Yeah.
Press Tribune.
Press Tribune. He's now with the state newspaper, is that what it's called?
South Carolina.
In South Carolina. Covering the Gamecocks.
Yeah. Bye week, so it's like got to come back to Boise.
Yeah.
Shirts and Skins paid for his flight and everything.
It was crazy. Yeah, they put me up at the Grove too. It was awesome.
Yeah. Only the best.
I
I
thought it was the Sunliner in Garden City. Or Desert
Is
Skies
that open again?
I don't know.
You can drive, you can park underneath your room.
Yeah.
That place
They
is unique.
remodeled that place.
This is at least a year coming that we've been wanting Jordan to come on.
Badly,
right?
dude,
You got. I don't know how
badly.
much you listened to early on, but you got a lot of play with us
I
early
know, I
on.
heard.
We loved your work.
Special place
really
in our
loved your
hearts
work.
for Jordan Kaye.
Wow.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yep. So here we are.
Because we've been doing this for over a year now. So we were talking about you when you're still covering Boise State.
Yeah.
And yeah, we're all pumped. Brandon brought back the OG music
did,
today.
man.
Yes, I liked it. Got
Who
me
made
going.
that?
A guy on Fiverr.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I forget his name. He had an interesting
We
name.
used
but
to know, but
We started doing other intros, and people wanted to scratch that itch of hearing the original.
I was
again,
gonna say
so-
it's pretty good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's pretty good.
we got
Drops a
some
good
love
beat.
for country and metal, but I think the last one, people just...
The last one put people over the edge, mine. Sorry, man.
Well, I got a few more. I got a few good ones.
The nursery rhyme one, dude. I still
Oh, that
wake
was
up
big.
with that in my head every once in a while, dude. That is catchy.
Very catchy.
I mean, it's as catchy as they get.
Dude, anyway, I have a bunch of really, really good ones. So, but I am interested if you guys,
Before we start,
Yeah.
we have snacks.
what happened?
We need to give credit to who, Mark?
Yeah. So, HIPAA, not allowed to. She'll know though. So I got this patient, right, and I don't generally lead with, "Hey, I'm your physical therapist, and we're going to be treating you. Now, here's the podcast you should be listening for your homework." That
Yeah,
doesn't
right.
usually come up much.
Yeah, right.
Too much. Okay. But this gal, she's retirement age, loves the Broncos. So we're talking Boise State every time, right? Anyway, so last time I said, "Hey, you." She's always talking. I said, "Do you listen to podcasts?" She goes, "Yeah." I go, "You should listen to this podcast."
You said that.
I said. Didn't tell her I was on it. You should listen to this. So then today she came in.
She thought you were going to give her a deal.
No, she listened and she brought, and I didn't tell her, she brought a nice fresh
Can you
thing
see
of
it?
cookies. Can you see that?
Hold those up, right in front of you. There you go.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's try them out.
So
What-
she
and why
knows
did
she
she
knows
bring
who
those?
she is. She goes, "Mark, everyone needs a fresh cookie when they want them," or something like that. She listened to our spiel about the press box and the lack of cookies, and these are amazing. I already had one. Are they not good?
Oh, very good.
They're good. All right.
Yeah.
Well,
Me
anyways,
and Brandon left early, so we don't really deserve the cookie.
you don't.
We
I
hung
waited
around
for 'em.
halftime to get one, but they weren't there.
Anyways, she knows who she is. Thank you very much from all of us. I can say.
That's awesome.
Appreciate
Those
it.
are amazing.
Anyone else wants to send us?
Is that the first gift from one of our listeners?
Yeah.
Goodness, yeah.
Other than the uninspired takes from the friend of the show?
Yeah, he never brought it. He never gave us cookies. That's for darn sure. But we'll take gifts. We'll take bribes. We get comments. Some good,
I
some
just
bad.
love that you're like, hey, I got an inside podcast you got to listen to.
Dude,
Like,
we got one more sub, man. One more sub.
I was golfing the other day, and this guy he loved BSU. We were talking BSU a lot, and I wanted to say, do you listen to podcasts?
Dude, do it. It's
Do you like
freeing.
listen to podcasts?
It's freeing. It's awesome.
Because I know one.
Because I've been on one.
Yeah.
I didn't.
My parents are telling you on who my parents got listening. DK.
Who's DK?
Dennis
Our old
Kerfoot.
basketball coach.
Oh, our
basketball
basketball coach.
My parents, they saw him somewhere. Hey, Mark and Matt and Brandon are doing a podcast. It was funny. Anyways, okay.
They're so
But these
proud
are
of
great
you.
cookies. Yeah, they are proud of me.
Not to ignore Jordan.
Yeah.
We gave him a cookie and he's over there. Just
Yeah.
eating it.
No, he's enjoying it.
Listening to
Let
us.
it, Uh-oh. That's not the one. That's not the one.
Oh, that's not the one.
All right. Anyways, we got to catch up with Jordan though.
Yeah.
Right? Do we want to catch up with him first?
I'm super interested. We were talking a little bit about where you're at now.
Yes.
And so maybe give us a little intro on where you're at now, what you're doing.
So, damn, that cookie was good.
So good.
So left, got a job in like last October, right before, everything went down with Boise State. I remember it was
Was
like
that before Avalos got, you left
literally,
before you got.
it was, so I drove to South Carolina, got a job, drove there on a Tuesday. That Saturday, I went to a South Carolina game as a fan, and that night I remember watching the Colorado State Hail Mary at like 2 a.m. Eastern time, and I was like, damn.
Yeah.
So that's like how my timing works. I'm like, Colorado State Hail Mary was like 4 days before that. So, I've been there for almost a year now. Enjoyed it. Kind of interesting to see a new part of the country. Like, I'd only lived in Arizona and Idaho. So it's just like fun to see a new part of the country, experience Southern living a little bit.
Well, in South Carolina, aggressively bigger school than Boise State, right? I mean,
but that
so are you writing? Are you podcasting? What are you doing over there exactly?
It's working for the newspaper in South Carolina. And it is. It's weird though.
Sports, right? Okay.
Just almost like
So you're covering
football.
South Carolina football, Gamecocks football.
Yeah.
Tell us about the SEC country, the culture there, the differences between here and there. I'm interested in that.
So I would say the difference is like, it's weird because I think like there's a small faction of like Boise State people who it's like almost very similar. Like the South Carolina Twitter is probably like very similar to Boise State. Just like there's more people like that.
Okay.
Who it's like their header is the Gamecock logo or whatever. So it's like more of that. There's also, it's just like everything to them is news, like just everything. So, what any update, it's just like what, the coach is Shane Beamer, like what Shane Beamer said about this or about this or about this. It's like people just eat that stuff up. And I've also noticed like the South Carolina people, I think probably because like there's more rivalries that have been long standing there. They just seem to care about the opponents more. It's like Boise State, who do you really care about? It's like, I don't know how many Boise State fans are keeping up with like Fresno State's QB or whatever.
Yeah.
Whereas I think the SEC is so much bigger that people they almost just follow the conference too, as opposed to like only following South Carolina or only following this team. They're very like locked into like, the running back from Texas A&M or something like that.
It is interesting because sometimes we'll have opposing team viewers that week only.
Yeah.
And that was a surprise to us because we're like, do you care?
Yeah.
Oregon was the biggest one for sure. Like we got a big
UCF,
bump from UCF as well. Yeah.
Oh yeah, last year.
Yeah, last year.
Yeah. UCF fans would leave comments on the podcast.
Yeah.
And we're like, where did you come from?
Yeah.
How did you find out about us? And
They were crazy a couple weeks ago because I was scrolling through like after a couple of their wins. I was like, damn, UCF people get into it.
They do. I respect that. They're passionate, national champs.
So, I mean, that's got to be more exciting for you, right? All of your updates are followed closely?
I don't even know if it's that. It's just, it's not even about like new, like that part. Cause I mean, there's still stuff like that, if you wrote the same story in Boise and the same story in South Carolina, like it would do the same amount. And so it's not even about that of like a bigger audience or anything. It's just like, to me, the coolest part is like every Saturday you're going to one of the coolest places. It's just some of those SEC stadiums.
It's not New Mexico. It's not Las Cruces or Albuquerque.
I love all the Mountain West cities.
Okay.
Like, just to go spend a weekend in Albuquerque, I'm like, this is the best. Like, go to an Isotopes game. You go find some burrito with like green chili. I'm like, this is awesome. Like that part's fun. And the SEC places are so much harder to get to. Like think about any Mountain West place. It's pretty close to an airport aside from like Wyoming and I mean, even Air Force is pretty close. So other than that, it's like you're driving everywhere to these SEC places because there's not like a airport around Tuscaloosa that you can just easily it's like Birmingham, but it's an hour away. And so then you're driving an hour here, flying, then you're driving an hour. But that's been the cool part is all these stadiums I saw growing up watching SEC on CBS. It's like, holy cow, this is 100,000 people in Kyle Field, or seeing the walk they do before every South Carolina game, and there's 50,000 people lined up. It's like, holy crap, like that stuff's pretty cool.
I always do think like getting paid to go to those games would be awesome because you can you can experience the full thing without some of the problems of getting into the stands or paying for it, all that stuff. But you can go to the things that you really like.
Yeah, exactly.
That's cool.
And the first game this year, they have a redshirt freshman quarterback who's kind of from the state, very like well thought of. And so I was like, oh, I'll go like sit in the stands with his mom for a game. And I was like, this is miserable. Like, this sucks. It was like 95 degrees with humidity. I mean, all the seats aren't like real seats, so they're just the metal benches. You're just baking in the sun. And I'm like, how do anyone do this? And because I was like technically working, it's like I didn't have any beer, so that didn't even help. I was like, I'm looking around at 80,000 people. I'm like, how do they do this every week? And that's the thing about like their fan base is they're very passionate. Like the team for most of its existence has been really bad. I mean, they had like 0-11 seasons and we're still getting 70,000 people.
Whoa.
So it's like people just go and that just doesn't matter like what's going on. They're just always going on Saturday. And I mean, that's kind of the same with Boise State, but they're always been good. So you always have something to cheer about.
Yeah.
Did you like your time at what was your impression of Boise State?
I loved it. Yeah. As a school.
Well, just when you were covering Boise State, like what was your impression of the school, the football team, the facility, like all that stuff?
The facilities I thought were like, they were okay. I think it's crazy, like especially being in the SEC now, just insane to me that they like the football players didn't have like meals. Like they didn't get,
at Boise State.
Yeah, they don't have food. I don't know if it's changed.
They changed
the
that
last
just
year.
yeah with Danielson. Now it's a
well, you just
it's
had
a
the meal plan.
Yeah, no, they have
something?
they changed that.
Wasn't it Hedrick
this year.
telling us they like had to pay? Like,
Dude,
they didn't have
for
M&Ms
cream
or something?
cheese, they had to pay extra for cream cheese.
Yeah, the like trail mix didn't
Yeah.
have M&Ms in it.
No, for a long time they just had to go to like regular student housing now or student meals. Now I think it's up in the stucco.
Okay.
But part of the north end zone
We'll have that.
will have dining for all the students there. But yeah, to your point,
they would have like
working
I
up
would
in
see
there.
kids walking out, and unless like literally if Paddles Up Pokey didn't cater, like sometimes it was either nothing or it'd be like a Little Caesars pizza or something. It's like this is what they're eating. Like this is crazy. Yeah. So that part's like weird. I think like Boise State, in terms of like the game day atmosphere, very cool. Like it's very easy to like get in and out, which I think is a very underrated thing. That
funny because people complain about that so much here.
I mean, go to other places.
Yeah, okay.
Like it is miserable. Like South Carolina, I mean, it'll take you an hour or two to get out. It's horrible. So just like, I think it's very well. I also love that it's like in a city.
Yeah.
Like that is very rare to be able to say, hey, I can go like downtown. And if I wanted to, I could walk from the bars and walk to Albertson Stadium. Yeah. Like that part's awesome. And then like as far as the school, like I don't know what you guys think, but it's like
we're 3 alums here, so careful.
Boise State has a lot of problems, but I don't know that they have like more problems than anyone else.
Yeah.
Like everyone can complain about like the NIL situation, but like every SEC school just complains about their NIL situation. Yeah. So they all think they're screwed.
Yeah.
It's like I saw the Arkansas AD was telling, hey, if we get 10,000 households to give $100 a month, we might be in the game. It's like, what? You're asking like the state with one of the like lowest GDPs be like, yep, we need 10,000 people to give $1,200 a year.
How much did Talon get? Do we know?
I don't know how much he got.
He got something. He got something.
At Arkansas? I don't know.
Yeah.
I wish that stuff was made public.
It should be.
It should be, and it will. And that's going to lead into what we need to talk about.
Public, right?
Yeah.
A lot of good topics. Dude, when can we get into Jordan Kaye's experience with the coach?
Should we do that now?
Let's go.
So before we get into that, we are going to talk about the Washington State game. But one reason,
why? Just
was that?
Just because?
I want to talk a little bit about the
but
5 minutes.
Okay, go.
No.
Later. Go.
Later. I'm saying later.
Yeah.
I want to get the main reason, not the main reason. We loved Jordan. We thought that you were a great writer. We really do. We think you're a great writer. And the other thing that we really liked about you was that you were abrasive isn't the right word, but you sometimes you ask questions that everyone is thinking.
Yeah.
And that maybe some of the other journalists, it seemed like
you always
did.
It
seemed like some others weren't willing to do. Which I think led to some friction there. But
have you guys looked at Jordan's Twitter?
No, not lately.
Do you know what his picture is? His profile picture?
Oh wait, hold on.
Avalos at TCU.
No, it's him and Avalos. I don't know where. Is
No, it was like Mountain West Media Day.
that's what I thought.
Someone took the picture. I was like, that's a good picture. And then I just think it's so funny now every time I look at it. I'm like, I can't change it now.
So, anyways, you were here for 2 seasons?
Yeah, 2 footballs. Or a season and a half, I think.
Well, I don't know.
Not long enough.
How do we want to introduce, or how do we want to get into this? Because
we need to show the picture when that comes up. Yeah, we need to show the picture on the YouTube.
Oh, that's funny.
Just grilling.
So
it's like an inside joke for myself.
We don't, we're not going to beat this like every week, but you're here. You had a little bit of an inside look, more so than we did.
Yeah.
What was your experience like last year, that roller coaster that was Boise State football?
Yeah.
Andy Avalos, that whole situation.
Yeah. I mean, as you guys know, I don't think he loved me, which was always so weird because you say it's like abrasive stuff, but like to me, it wasn't. Like, I was never trying to be can I cuss? I was never trying to be a dick.
Yeah.
Like, that was never the point. To me, it was just like normal questions.
We agree.
Right.
That's why it was so bizarre to me is like, there was like, oh, Andy doesn't like Jordan. I was like, I'm just asking. It's not like I'm saying, hey, why? I don't even know. Like, I was never asking anything that I thought was like out of bounds.
Right.
It was always like, hey, this guy who we saw is injured. Like, is he like, what's the status of him? Stuff that every other reporter at every other school asks. And because he made up some rule that you're not allowed to ask about injuries, like, well, why not? I feel like we should still ask because people still want to know. Yeah. And all you have to say is either no comment or, nothing has changed. It's like, it's not that hard. Yeah. And so, you would ask him stuff. I remember the Utah State game a couple of years ago or 2 years ago. Whereas they had already locked up the Mountain West, and so I was like, hey, like what's the balance of you wanting to play your starters for this last game, but also like rest up for the biggest game of the year? And he just like wouldn't answer that question. I was like, I thought that was pretty fair. Like that'd be hard for me as a coach of like, all right, do we want to like give it our all this week? But why not just wait for the Mountain West championship? And I think people got injured and they lost the Mountain West championship. Like stuff like that was just, I was like, I never understood it. And the more I've heard, I was like, oh, like that makes sense. Like just everything I've heard since then is like, oh yeah, I get why it didn't work. But yeah, that was always the interesting part is it was never anything crazy. And there were times even we would talk as reporters that you would almost throw them a softball of like, hey man, like this should be easy. Like you can give a great answer. Hell, they can put it on Twitter and recruits will love it. And instead he would just like totally deflect it and almost like put it back. And you're like, what are you doing? Like,
didn't you get the infamous "we're going to run to win" response?
Oh my God! I was looking that up the other day because someone was mentioning the San Diego State game, and I was like, I asked something that I pissed him off, but I was like,
you
what
asked
was
about
it?
Talon. Because you were saying like, hey, what do you have to say about? And he could have been like, hey, Talon's working hard. He's developing anything. We're going to run to win. Yeah.
And I was like, what is that answer?
Yeah.
And then from then on, it's like he just gives you this stuff that you can just use against when they don't run to win. Because I think it was a week or two later, it was like 4th and 1 against Memphis.
Oh.
And they decided to kick a field goal to go up 6, which like, what is that going to do for you? Like, you're still up 1 possession.
And they returned
gets blocked and gets returned. And I was like, I thought he said we were running to win. Like, well, apparently not. Apparently they're kicking field goals to win.
Well, a lot of time, I mean, it was just so awesome because it was this quarterback, switcheroo thing that was going on, and you were like, "What's going on?"
Yeah.
And then he would just say stuff like, "We're going to run to win," and then he'd throw in Maddox. Throw, run occasionally, use Genty occasionally.
Wasn't there one game where Talon started, but he played one snap?
Yeah, and Andy said Talon is our starter.
Yeah.
And he played the first play.
Stuff like that, I'm like, holy cow. I thought.
Have you ever seen it? I mean, I know you're probably younger than us three actually, but you've been covering sports. Have you ever seen a situation like that?
No, that was bizarre. And then especially because it was so, like, even now I realize that like even the players didn't know what the hell was going on. They're like, what are we doing? Like it just, the whole thing made no sense. And
we've debated this plenty. Was it an Avalos or was it a Bush or like how?
I'm 95% sure it was an Avalos thing, but I could be wrong. But I would bet a lot of money it was him.
Well, it seemed like when he left, a lot of these problems got solved.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? Also, I mean, I don't know how much we can get into it, but like he fires Tim Plow, who he was the one telling him, hey, you have to run because our defense is going to get tired. It's like, what? I mean, if you go look at the UCF game, Tim Plow's offense looked really good until halftime, till, perhaps Andy thought that the defense was getting tired, and then they started running the ball and blew like a 20-point lead. It's kind of, there's weird stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so it's like he fires Tim Plow, and then Dirk Cutter comes in. I'm sure he was trying to meddle with Dirk Cutter, and Dirk Cutter was like, I'm not having any of this. Like,
we kind of heard about that.
Yeah. It's like either, hey, you get out, or I'm leaving, and, I don't really need to be here. So it is interesting, though.
Well, we all thought you did great. I think, all those guys, Tuss and BJ and Johnny and I think they all did a good job, but I thought you were coming at it from a different angle.
Yeah, because I like, those guys would ask some awesome questions that I just could never, the way they asked it was so good. And to me, I was just very probably direct and too direct. And then after a point, I was like, there's no reason to be fluff it, because he's just going to give me some BS answer.
I got a question. I commented on. So our special, did you see the Boise State Oregon game this year?
Yeah.
Okay, so we gave up two touchdowns, two special teams touchdowns. Okay, so our special teams coordinator has not talked to the media until today.
Okay. Oh, Stacey Collins hasn't?
He spoke to the media today, so I watched the clip of it, 6-7 minute clip, the media scrum. They're asking him questions, and I asked the question on the thing, and maybe I'm out of line, but we literally lost a game at a top 10 teams, and this was his first chance to talk. It's a week and a half later. I get it, a game and a half. No one even broached the topic. No one mentioned Oregon. No one mentioned, hey, had some issues at Oregon. What are you guys working on? It just didn't even get brought up.
Yeah.
And is that, because it's been 2 games now, is that the right? I was listening to the interview waiting to hear something about that. We literally lost the game because your units. Not to say anyone say that to him, but ask something about it. It didn't get brought up. Am I in the wrong in thinking that should have been brought up? Or
I don't.
What's the media? What's the right? You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, it's a good question. I would have to go back, because I don't know what perhaps Danielson answered it after the game or the week after. And then I think there's also something of sometimes you're just in such a, you're so into Boise State football, when you're covering it, you almost forget about what happened 2 weeks ago. Yeah. So I think it could have been we haven't heard from Stacey Collins in 2 weeks, but it's you almost forget about the Oregon thing. But it's I'm not forgetting about the Oregon thing. Holy crap.
That's when it's funny, as a Boise State fan or any fan of any school, you can remember, I remember 10 years ago when we lost that game at Nevada, and you think of things it hit off that guy's leg or whatever. That game is going to be forever remembered in the fan base as the second half meltdown on special teams.
Yeah.
It just seems like
what are you looking for?
You're asking, I don't know.
I don't know. I was asking the question.
I know.
I'm just asking the question.
If I'm looking at Stacey Collins and I in my mind say, what happened? Why? And he's like, yeah, we didn't tackle. We just didn't tackle.
We didn't have leverage.
What else do you want?
But why have media? Why have any press ask any question if you're not going to ask the biggest question of the year?
But is that the biggest? What are you looking for?
For the special teams coordinator,
this one guy didn't hold contain.
Maybe
he didn't make tackle.
I wouldn't ask him what. If I was there today, I guess, and I had the balls to ask it, I'd say, hey, been a couple weeks now since the Oregon game. Obviously had a couple of mishaps there. What are you guys working on to make sure that didn't happen? Or something, just to bring it up so he can.
Jordan,
that's what I would have
done.
As
an actual legit media member, what would you say?
What I would say is you're going to ask that question, and then what do you plan on doing with it?
Right.
Are you going to write a story? Are you going to do something?
Sure.
So there's sometimes too, you go into press conferences knowing that you're trying to write about a certain topic.
Yeah, I've noticed that.
And you're answering you got to ask a question to get, something for that story. And so sometimes it's am I just going to ask a question to ask a question? And your case as a fan, be like, hell yeah, I want to know.
Yeah.
So sometimes you can go into it being I don't care what happened 2 weeks ago, because unless I'm going to write a story about it, why am I going to waste everyone's time by asking it? But I get now with interviews, everything is streamed. And people fans keep up with what is asked and what's not. Yeah. And I think that's so different than that probably wasn't the case 6 years ago.
Yeah,
7?
they just wrote what they. Yeah, and maybe that's why I wanted your perspective. Yeah. Maybe I'm expecting something that shouldn't have happened, but yeah.
I mean, he should have been brought out too after the week after.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
There's that too.
Yeah, I just don't know. I mean, I get where you mean, and having some closure on it.
Yeah. It's like,
Seriously, maybe that's what it is.
Like, apologize.
Yeah, but I want to hear. I want to hear. I'm sorry right now.
But I just don't know. I mean, we could all see what happened.
Yeah.
You know, we didn't tackle or whatever.
Yeah.
So
That's fair enough.
Yeah, because I don't think any real answer that a coach is going to give is going to give you that closure, right? You can ask it, and I think Jordan was very good at asking those direct questions. But it's like, did any answer ever come from it where you're like, oh, yeah, that makes – I think it's just very rare, right? Andy would dodge everything. And that's the thing. Like these BJ, Jay, whoever, all the fans are like, hey, ask this question, right? You need to ask about this. And it's like they can ask all they want, but they're not going to get an actual answer.
I actually think BJ has he's in a tough position. That's why I thought Jordan was such a good asset, because BJ has to manage access to like the coaches and the players, and the more you get people upset, the harder that is.
You're going to lose that access.
And so for him,
that's a little overplayed. Like,
is it?
Yeah, because that becomes a big PR thing for schools. Like if you start restricting people access, like that's not a good look.
Yeah, but a reporter that shall not be named kind of messed up, and they
yeah.
So, but
he didn't get invited on. There were some other big things that came, and he got the boot, and now he's gone.
But that's different.
different.
You know, I heard that story, and if everything's true that I heard, that's very different, because that's like there's certain protocols that weren't followed, and so you can point to something versus being critical is not necessarily a reason to evoke anything.
I guess for me, if I'm looking at it like in a sales position, you don't always want to be the person to give them bad news, or to give that friction type of thing. And so if you could have an accountant or a customer service rep say that way, the salesperson's always like in good state, standing.
Yeah.
And you never want to leave the salesperson, but you're like, oh, this guy sucks.
Yeah.
So, it allowed BJ to say, well, Jordan's Jordan or whatever.
Yeah.
If he needed to.
I tried to tell him, but
Jordan's whatever the hell he wants.
Most of the time, a lot of those quotes came from when I was working at the press. And so it was completely separate too. But it's not like he ever said, hey, don't ask this or you can't ask that.
No, yeah. Well, good for him. I mean, we just not to beat a dead horse, that was the best. Like the way you handled it was awesome, because we were always so frustrated. Like, why is Avalos doing these things?
Yeah.
And you would say, why did you do that thing? We're like,
Which is so weird, because now it's like, at South Carolina, the coach is so much better at media than Andy Avalos was. Yeah. That it's like, I'm like, man, I haven't gotten any, nothing, no comments yet. I'm like, what's the difference in the question I'm asking? I'm like, I don't know if there's any difference. It's just that someone's just giving an actual answer.
So do they just take, a good coach just takes it, spins it.
100. Yeah, that's all you do. If you think about what's the quote? Always be Cruton. Just everything can be turned into a recruiting pitch. Yeah. If you just think of a press conference as that, it's pretty good.
Just don't give any ammunition to your opponents.
Yeah.
Just say, oh, they're really good. They're really good.
And you can be boring. I think Brian Harsin was really good at saying a lot without saying absolutely anything.
Yeah.
That's a trick too.
Well, anyway, wish you the best of luck
in
South Carolina. A lot of things to talk a lot of stuff going on.
Half an hour intro. We're in.
Wait, I got to ask Mark about one thing.
Okay.
I got introduced to Mark because he had a tweet
about
We've had this a few times.
not buying the season tickets because there was offensive linemen on the billboards.
Oh, that was not me. No,
that was you.
No, I didn't. No, I didn't say.
Fact check, Mark?
Sure, you can fact it.
Oh, okay.
I didn't say I wouldn't buy season tickets because of offensive linemen. This is a couple years ago, so I got to remember.
It was 2 years ago.
I think my take was
what did he say?
Jordan brought some receipts with him.
No, this is great. Talk about marketing. Why would you put
I agreed.
A 300-pound lineman up on the side of your building instead. Who they didn't put was
Hank. They didn't put Hank.
Yeah, that's what it was, and But it was put your sexy stars up there. Put your skill guys. And I was like, why are we putting a big old lineman? He's got a gut hanging out, and he's standing there. I'm like, that is not the. I did get it. I caught a lot of flack for that.
Which is so funny because I thought it was I thought you were spot on, and I mean, saying I'm not going to buy or people wouldn't buy season tickets or something.
I never said that, but someone it got. No, I did.
I thought I remembered as people. Why are we doing this? people aren't going to buy season tickets or something. And I was like, that's crazy. But I understood the point of like, how is like the 4-year starting quarterback not on like a billboard outside this? It was crazy to me. And so I was like, oh, like someone else noticed it too.
Yeah.
But that was the first time I was laughing so hard. You were getting so much crap. And
I remember that was probably the most crap I ever got on Twitter. Was that is saying something.
It's also saying something that somebody laughs at your tweets.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. There's one.
I don't remember that one.
One of
I don't remember.
It's been a couple years. It was before we started this. But it was. I got a lot. Yeah, and that was part of the whole like Boise State didn't bring Hank down to media days.
Yeah,
he wasn't on the side. And I was saying like, there's something wrong here.
And
when you're starting 4-year quarterback, he should be the face of the program. He should be outward facing everything. And I was right. I mean, 4 games in, he quit. There was issues all over the place.
Yeah.
But I was right.
Still playing.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Speaking of 4 games, is 4 games the new trade deadline in college football?
Oh my gosh.
Red shirt.
I want to know your guys' thoughts on this, but holy cow. That was the craziest thing.
Wild. And
fill people in. There's probably a few people out there.
So the story is at UNLV. So there's 2 stories there. The one I like the best is the running back, personally. But
who's like their
the fourth
string?
Anyway, so
mine isn't NIL related. I'm just leaving.
Yeah, it's like I'm just quitting.
Just to be clear, I'm quitting my team. Like it's better, bro. Come on.
So the story is this. I think it was Monday. Was it Monday? UNLV quarterback comes out or Tuesday?
Came out just 2 nights ago.
Tuesday
nights
night.
ago.
Yeah.
So anyway, the UNLV team, who's 4-0,
3-0,
3-0.
Oh,
3-0.
So are they on their bye this week, or
they just had a bye? They just had a bye.
Okay, so they're 3-0. They beat Houston. They beat Kansas State.
Yep. Kansas.
No, Kansas.
Okay, they beat Kansas. Sorry. Quarterback comes out and says, "Yo, I'm out. Didn't get paid the NIL money I guess they agreed to pay." Mm-hmm. And so then there was like this PR battle.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, between I guess his team and the UNLV team and the collective.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so I'm gonna butcher some of this stuff, but essentially he was saying to the fact where when I came here, and I don't know where he came from.
Holy Cross FCS program.
So because UNLV lost their starting quarterback last year
to NIL to USC. Yep.
And he's not playing, right?
He's riding the bench but getting paid.
Okay.
Yep.
Which is too bad because he would be.
He'd be good.
He was a good player.
Yeah. Anyway, so he comes in from Holy Cross, and I guess in the conversations with whoever was told you're going to get $100,000 this year.
Yeah.
Instead, he got a really very similar amount of $3,000 a month. $3,000 a month?
No, he got $3,000. That's it. And then they said, "Well, we'll pay you $3,000 for the rest of the season a month."
Are you serious?
Yeah. And he was like, "No."
Okay. Well, anyway, so UNLV clears out about $6,000 in cap space for like their next quarterback. But anyway, so. Then the school comes out and was like, "Hey, this is a kind of a violation. We can't get involved in that."
Yeah, they're trying to cover their butt.
So we didn't do anything. And then the collective was like, "Hey, we told them $3,000." Yeah. And so we made do on all of our things. And then so yeah, it was kind of like who made the comment? Was it a coach? Was it the collective?
I think I know what happened. I think just piecing it all together is that an assistant coach, and I think it's that offensive coordinator, Marion or whatever. The assistant coach told him he was going to get it.
Handshake deal.
And then it never got in writing, and it never got back to the collective, or it never became official with the collective. And then the problem with UNLV is they're not allowed. I mean, per rules, an assistant coach isn't allowed to say, "We got $100,000 for you." I mean, that's against the rule. So now they're backed in a corner like, "Oh, we didn't do that," and there's nothing in writing. So... but the thing is, he's throwing for like 50% this year, 48%.
This guy's not Arch Manning.
No, what's he going to get?
How many people had heard of him before this whole scandal comes out?
I didn't know UNLV was in the top 25.
In the coaches poll, they are.
Oh, is that?
It's just a coaches poll, but yeah.
Okay.
Close.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, he's a good runner. He's a good dual threat. Excuse me. Who's going to, I mean.
But what would you like? Because I've heard so many people say he quit on his team, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I don't know. He has 1 year of eligibility left.
Really? That's it?
So So he had to leave either, I guess, this week or next week to preserve a year. Mm-hmm. And he's saying, "Hey, I have 1 year to make money."
Mm-hmm. He's not going to the pros.
No. So either I leave now and at least I can capitalize next year, and maybe it's not $100,000, but maybe it's 60 or something, and he can,
maybe it's $4,000 a
But
month.
what's it take to live the next 12 months until you get your $100,000, right? Like, it costs money to live. You know what I mean? Like, there's an opportunity cost there of time.
Probably go home.
Well,
right?
I get it. I get both. I think most people can see both sides.
Yeah.
Like, he was promised something, they're not paying up. It's like, hey, if you went to South Carolina because you're going to make X thousands of dollars a year, you get there and they don't pay you, but you're not going to keep doing your job. I get it. But, it's tough when you're a first place team in your league. Yeah. You're one of the front runners for the playoff.
But how do you not get it in writing?
Yeah, get it in writing. That's
Stupid.
the key here.
Stupid.
Right? If you're a college player and you're offered money, get it in writing.
If you're anyone offered a job, like I was so scared to, like I had to, put a deposit on an apartment in South Carolina, and I'm like waiting, like texting, emailing people, like, hey, can I get like the proof in writing that I have this job?
An offer letter.
Yeah, you need something in writing to be like, I got to cover my bases. So the fact that he got to like almost October with nothing in writing, like, how did I don't know. I know he somewhat had an agent. That whole story was kind of confusing too.
And he's not licensed in Nevada.
Well,
what a mess.
Do you have to
yes,
be?
NIL agents have. There's all these, and
Because
ultimately,
it's just like emails. Like, you're like, hey, how much are you going to pay him? You're going to pay him this, okay, this and that, and you're going to go.
It's an indictment on
A lot of people.
on the NCAA.
Yeah, there you go.
And I feel bad in one sense. I feel bad for the NCAA because they try to put out a rule, and the second they put a rule out to restrict anything, it goes to court. An SEC school, someone takes them to court, and they say that's a restraint of trade. Boom, you can't do it. You can't do it. You can't do it. So until these guys are employees and there's contracts, there's just no rule they can point out. They can put out that is going to be upheld in court, which is bizarre to me because it's like we've had NCAA rules for 100 years. And they were illegal for 100 years, and no one, they weren't just, and now people are just like, screw you. Screw you. We're not applying.
Because the enforcement board's the NCAA, and they can't pay the cost to defend themselves over and over and over on every single rule that they make. And so it's not like you're going to jail.
Yeah.
And so the NCAA just said, you can't play. And they're like, no, screw you.
Well, for a long time, people said, yeah, I can't play, darn it. Oh, Reggie Bush took whatever it was, and they take the penalty. And someone, I don't know when it started, 5, 6, 7 years ago, they were like, we're not going to listen to you. It was, you know what it was? It was Auburn. It was Cam Newton, remember?
I think it was.
He was getting paid. He was getting paid. And then they said, you got to sit him out. And they're like, no, we're going to play him. We're going to play him. They just took the risk. And they still have a national championship this day.
I forgot about that.
That was one of the first.
Because I think the big one was the Ed O'Bannon that he saw his picture or whatever in the NCAA video game.
Lawsuit,
well, that started the NIL stuff for sure.
Yeah.
But I don't know when it started when people just started saying, we're not going to follow the rules.
Yeah. I bet you it probably had something to do with Johnny Manziel too. Because that was when public perception started turning on the NCAA because they were making tons of money.
But it's just I don't know, man. You play in a local pickleball league and there's rules.
Yeah.
No one's going and being like, well, the law says I can do this. So, if you're part of the organization, you abide by the rules.
Yeah.
And it's just bizarre that these people are we're not abiding by the rules. We're not going to do that. We're going to pay our guys. We can't pay your guys. Well, we're going to pay them.
Yeah.
Take us to court. Oh, we lose. We're going to pay them. Yeah. It's just so where is the line? It's bizarre. It's bizarre. It's crazy. It seems bizarre.
Going back to it, if, in my opinion, the UNLV guy, if he was promised that amount of money and they didn't pay him, okay, then I don't hold it against him. I do also think, man, you're giving up a good opportunity to have a special year for this team. That kind of hurts a little bit as a sports fan and as somebody that played in sports for nothing.
Yeah. Then
I kind of feel like, hey, dude, the experience is worth a lot of money. Because this isn't your future. I mean, you're really gonna get $500,000? You're gonna even $100,000 is a lot of money. But what if you did go to the playoffs?
Right.
What if you did have that experience that you can't? No amount of money will give you that feeling, and that camaraderie with teammates. No, and now the camaraderie you had with your teammates, some of the people that you'll always have connections with, gone.
Well,
gone.
And part of that is just the whole NIL situation in general, but I think for a lot of these guys, it's very transactional. And that's why I think what Boise State is doing is awesome. We're a developmental program. We're going to keep our guys, not a la Clemson, but not quite. We definitely use the portal some. But like this guy went to Holy Cross. He already did it once. He already did it once and said, I'm leaving because that's where he was there for 3 or 4 years. His boys were there, whatever. He already left them once. And so he'd only been at UNLV for a few months. And it was I'm going there to get paid. And then he's not getting paid. He didn't have any ties. And that's what UNLV as a program, Barry Odom is their coach now. Mm-hmm. He was an SEC guy. He's gone in a year or two. All he's trying to do is get some wins and get a better job. So he's bringing in half their team, half their playmakers are all transfers. They don't have and they might beat us this year. They're good, but they don't have like that culture that's keeping guys there. And this is proof of it.
It's not just that. This guy clearly went to the coaches and said, hey, here was what I was promised. This is what I'm doing. Yeah. Like, I'm going to leave.
And they didn't help him out.
They didn't help, but like, can you imagine like if, Ashton Genty or one of these guys like went to Jeremiah Dickey and said, hey, like none of this stuff was in writing. Like, what's the deal? Ooh. Jeremiah Dickey would be on the phone with boosters like, hey, this is the number we need to hit. Like, who can help out?
Yeah.
UNLV has plenty of boosters. Like, they have plenty of money. Like, 100,000 is not that much.
And they were like, no.
Yeah, and they were sorry, can't do it. It's like, I'm sure this stuff happens all the time, and it's covered up because you could.
This guy only completes 50% of his passes.
So apparently it was a camp battle, and he won the battle, obviously, but maybe they're like, the next guy is right there.
Sure.
And if you want to leave, go ahead. Yeah. We'll see how they play.
Did you see the post on the backup quarterback?
No.
So there was a post going on Twitter where they said QB1 and it was that backup quarterback, and a bunch of the UNLV players were like, about time.
Yeah.
It's about time.
I did see that.
Let's get him some money.
Yeah.
Let's get him paid.
$3,500.
Yeah. There's enough businesses in Vegas you can scrounge up.
Speaking of Vegas, they're $25 to $30 million richer.
Okay. Yes. Okay. Next. That's what we're talking about.
Sure.
I do want to mention the running back for UNLV. That was my favorite. Because the same day, I didn't know. Was he now the starting running back?
No.
He's their fourth leading rusher. So,
anyway,
so
it was
back?
about the same time where he comes out. He's like, hey, I'm also leaving. And then everybody's like, whoa, UNLV's really not playing their guys. And then he posted an update. It's not, they didn't offer me any money. I'm just leaving to quit. And it was like, it was so funny to me. I was like, you're not helping yourself.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, that was hilarious to me. Pac-12, Pac-6, Pac-8, Mountain West.
Six-pack.
Seven-pack.
Utah State saving
Utah State. So Utah State was added.
Since we last spoke.
Yeah. And then Air Force or the vaunted duo of Air Force and UNLV is deciding to stay. And I guess they get a pretty big amount of money to stay.
Thoughts, Matt?
So I want to hear what Jordan's
what was the number?
Because
they're saying 25 to 30 is what UNLV, $25 to $30 million are getting to stay.
Each.
Is that money coming from
directly from the Pac-12.
Yeah. With the exit fees.
Yes.
Yeah. So we'll take your money
and then every other team is they said they're going to come out with the list. All the teams that are staying are getting paid, but UNLV and Air Force are the bigger money.
So they're the linchpins that keep the Mountain West together.
What a short-sighted thought.
Because they were going to leave?
Yes.
Because they were the only ones that anybody even sort of wanted. It's the only reason.
Wyoming, Hawaii,
San
Jose State. Who else am I missing?
New Mexico.
New Mexico. That's it.
No one wanted it. So they're like, do whatever you have to. Do whatever you have to, because if they leave,
there's no more.
There's no more Mountain West, and they're trying Conference USA.
There still isn't, right? Because they need to get to.
They need 2 more members.
2 more.
Because they have 6 plus Hawaii, but they need 8 full-time members. So they still need to expand. So does the Pac-12.
You want to know what Idaho's doing right now? We're back, baby. Back in Division 1.
Why would Idaho want to go back to Division 1?
Idaho's right where they need to be.
Yeah, they're in a good spot.
Well, who are they going to get? Portland State? I mean, honestly.
I don't. So,
but those schools don't have enough money or probably don't want to go.
No. This is a mess. This is a colossal. When it first came out, and we were kind of applauding it, like, hey, it's better than the Mountain West. We're going to grab a couple of the top schools. And we didn't think of this, but we weren't getting paid to think of this. Now, someone needs to, unless they can go and get Memphis, and we'll talk about that, someone else, the commissioner of the Pac-12, she's worse than Clay Eichhoff. I mean, seriously, like, you didn't think in your mind that we're going to take 4 and that Gloria Nevarez of the Mountain West wasn't going to use that money. I mean, no one thought of this.
It all makes sense now.
It makes sense now. Yeah. But still, I mean, to come out and steal 4 schools, they should have gone for 6 right away.
Arrogance? Is it ignorance?
What was the benefit of announcing the Pac-6 in the middle of the season? Nothing happened. I mean, there's no real benefit,
I think they thought they were going to get this like groundswell of, this is going to be the best of the rest conference, and it's like they had no TV
but they could have
value.
Done that. They could have done that a lot of different times. Like, what if BSU gets to the playoff? Okay, now we have like a groundswell of like BSU is doing great. Announce it right before the game, right? Like the week of the game, and say, hey, we're going Pac-6. Memphis, like, I like that. Let's go. There's a lot of good things going on.
Jordan, jump in here.
I just think once these things like start to get out, you can't hide a secret for like 4 months.
Yeah.
So if you know it's going to happen, it has to get out.
You're probably right.
But I mean, you mentioned the short-sightedness. Like, did they not? Why couldn't they have just introduced 8 new teams right away?
Exactly.
You couldn't have called like I'm sure they did, but it just seems so crazy now. How did you not think these conferences were going to regroup and reach back out to the Memphises and the UTSAs and say, we'll give you guys all this money and all these promises to stay? I mean, it's kind of what happened a little bit with Boise State in the Big East.
Yeah.
Yes, no?
Yeah, a little bit.
We're really good at jumping conferences.
Yeah. They fall apart.
We jump right as we're jumping to icebergs are sinking. They jump back.
I mean, I'm sure they thought, okay, we're going to get these schools. We got the 6-pack. We're going to try and get Memphis, Tulane, whoever. If they say no,
which would have been great.
Which would have been great. And still, I think that's the play. We'll talk about it. But then they had to have thinking, because we thought this, worst case scenario, every single team in the Mountain West is going to want to jump on board. So worst case, we'll come back to Mountain West and get it. Utah State took the lifeline. They didn't think that they didn't plan that the Mountain West was going to say, here's $30 million to stay. And now what's the play? There's only 2 plays. The only way that this happens and the crazy amount of money that we as Boise State and the Pac-12 are spending, the only way this makes any sense, and you're like, that was worth it, is if we can somehow still get Memphis and whoever. Which is still possible. We need to roll up and we need to pay to get, we need to up the ante. Because if that doesn't happen, and we get Texas State or we get UTEP or we get anybody, it's like then it's so clear we should have just combined the Pac-12 into the Mountain West or vice versa, because
from like a Memphis standpoint, I've been like following some of the reporters over there. What are they doing?
Yeah.
Same with UNLV. What are they doing?
But what is the point of like, we're going to stick with the Great American Conference? What? Like, no basketball team is like in the top 100 of anything. The football team, no one aside from Memphis is in like the top 75. Yeah. What is the point for Memphis of saying, yep, we're going to stick strong with this great conference? And I don't get it from their perspective.
Are there fans? Are they kind of like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Do you have it? Yeah.
So I think so.
There might be a groundswell there. I think the Pac-12 has to re-engage.
Sure.
And try and say, okay, we were offering you they were only offering $2.5 million of their $25 million. We need to say we'll pay 15.
Yeah. 15.
They have $200-something million.
Oh, sure.
The Pac-12 does. They need. Otherwise, then we combine the 2 leagues.
Yeah.
Because how is it? I mean, I get the idea of losing the bottom of the Mountain West was exciting to us, right? Yeah. But at this point, if you're going to pay $150 million. For what? Like, it doesn't make sense.
And then I was confused listening to Jeremiah a couple times of, like, how much is the Pac-12 actually going to cover?
No one said anything yet. We don't know.
I don't, because that's a lot of money. What is it, $15 million plus?
17 that Boise State's on the hook for. And we don't know.
And I don't know how much the Pac-12 is giving them of that. I'm like, Boise State, like $17 million.
Yeah.
Especially that they've got to start paying next year for, players.
Yeah. And the TV, we're going to make a little more, but if we don't get Memphis and whatever, how much better is the money going to be?
Yeah.
It's a mess. And it's a mess, man.
Can I bring up a scenario that could happen to UNLV?
Let's hear it.
I think it's interesting.
Go.
Can I?
Yeah.
Okay.
You got the floor.
So let's say UNLV stays. They lose their quarterback. They lose their vaunted quarterback rushing attack that they have right there.
That 1-2 punch.
The 1-2 punch that they have. And they say, oh, you're going to get $27 million to stay in the Mountain West. And then they get sued, and the Mountain West kind of falls apart, and they don't get all of that money because all the other Mountain West schools sue to get a equal share of the exit fees. And it's just like they don't get anything that they ended up wanting. I just think, there's no guarantee future for any of these schools for any of these scenarios. In my opinion, I just don't think there's any guarantee out there.
And then I love the lawsuit too.
Yeah.
You got to try and buy it down, but
you can't do that.
We agreed to this a year ago, but that was illegal.
People are saying that Gloria's doing an amazing job and she's reacting, but she's giving away tons of money to keep her job.
Yeah.
It's like she's negotiating. She's like, how much money do you want? Because if you don't stay, I lose my job. So,
but it's also she has to uphold I think of it like a president almost, where you're like swearing on the oath of the Mountain West Conference. Like
she has to do what she has to do to
keep
it alive.
Keep this alive, and I think she's almost fighting for like the New Mexicos and Wyomings of the world of like, hey, these schools deserve just as much to play sports as Boise State or San Diego State.
I just wonder where they're going to go. What do they do?
I don't know.
How pissed? What do you think? The problem is that UNLV, like, apparently, because we all think like, oh, UNLV, that it's Las Vegas. Apparently, their TV numbers and everything just really suck, right? And they've been bad for 30 years. And as soon as this coach leaves, do they just drop back to what they were for 30 years, or have they really started to build something? I don't know. But how pissed would you be if you're a fan of Memphis or UNLV? And you're going to stay in these crappy leagues, and you're like, for money, it's like UNLV, they're just going to pay that money. I guess their athletic department's in major debt. So they need the money where you're just going to pay your debts off, and then that's it. Like, man, if you're
major debt,
what is the goal? Hey, we want to be 10-time Mountain West champions of.
You're
never going to make the playoff.
What's the point? Do you know what I'm excited about? Basketball. I mean, if you could add Memphis, which let's just say no, Gonzaga, San Diego State.
We need to add Gonzaga.
Well, okay.
But they haven't been added.
Can you? Do you mind?
Shh. Okay, go ahead.
I just think it would be an awesome conference, man. And I think you could have 8 teams that, are annually in the tournament, if not like competing really highly. And so I just think the basketball conference that was like something I was salivating about.
Yeah.
And then, personal opinion. At that point, too, just add like a St. Mary's or someone for basketball. Just really like up the ante. But that would be awesome.
Incredible.
And especially, too, they really touted the whole regionality of it. Like, hey, we're all these schools. And Memphis is a little far, but at least it's not, Florida or anything. You could still kind of like make that argument of, hey, it's like all these schools, and then, Memphis is kind of in the middle of the country.
Yeah, well, if you're not traveling to Hawaii... I guess Memphis is just as good.
Boise State's traveled to Hawaii. This will be the first time in like 5 years.
Yeah.
Like it's not like it happens very often.
Yeah, I don't know.
Who do they go for? We need one more team, right?
Not Memphis, or what do you say?
Let's say that the Memphis doesn't work out.
Oh, dude, it's not good. There's no good in my opinion. Like, I don't like Utah State.
I didn't
like that either. I mean, it's like if you add another Mountain West team, now we're stupid. Now we're just being stupid.
Well, we can't. Yeah. Supposedly they all did sign today. Those 7 Mountain West schools
they really?
did. Yeah.
So there's 7, and they need to get to.
They need 6 signed. Sorry.
Well,
Hawaii didn't
not
sign.
A full time.
Yeah. So they apparently did sign today. So you're not getting Mountain West schools, and let's say the AAC schools you can't get them. What's the next option?
I don't know. Not that the Pac-12 could have been this amazing power conference, right? We know that power wasn't going to be associated with it, but it was just a big whiff, I think. Something that could have been great turned in just to a big mess.
It's a bummer because the people that we invited could have been a part of something much better, and I think that's what we're talking about. Much better than where they're at.
Yeah.
Competitively.
And now it's like we're hanging out with stepbrothers and sisters that we don't really like, and it's like,
we're at this holiday party, we're like, shut up, uncle.
Yeah. Like, you're not really my stepbrother. Your mom married my dad. You know?
And if it was all those schools that they had originally thought of, like the UTSA, the USF, like whoever won that conference would have been in the playoff every year.
I think so. And it still might be the case. Let's see. Let's cross our fingers that it's better, but there was definitely some screw ups.
Yeah, I did. The Pac-12 leadership.
They've been through a lot.
The leadership before
15
this
years.
Larry Scott, and then Kleavkov, and now what's her name? I don't know.
Teresa Gold. Like
maybe she's just hanging out in San Francisco.
She's friends with Navarez.
Yeah,
allegedly. and they're just like,
do we want
stealing money from?
Do we
each other
want the
and suing each
PAC-6?
other?
I mean, do we even want that? Like, I don't know.
Since people are like ignoring NCAA rules, can we just say, hey, we're a conference with 6 teams?
Yeah,
just say,
just sue them.
We'll be our own conference.
Seriously, and say, why did you make that rule? That's anti-competitive. We're a conference. Like, seriously.
Screw you, NCAA.
You kidding me? Golly.
All the Power 4 conferences are over there laughing at us right now. Oh, yeah. They don't care about us at all.
Don't care.
Crazy how big those things are. I was looking at standings the other day, on ESPN.com, and it's like the Big 12, and there's how many? 16 teams?
18, 16.
It's just how do you decide the champion of these leagues? Like, half the teams don't play each other. I'm not a big fan of the big leagues. I'm really not.
And I mean, even in the SEC right now, it's pissing a lot of people off because I didn't realize this, but there's a lot of SEC matchups that were scheduled the exact same time every year. So Georgia still plays Florida, Halloween weekend, but then it was Georgia would play Tennessee this weekend and South Carolina would play Tennessee this weekend. It was always I didn't realize this, but always the same time every year. And now with the new schedule, it's South Carolina isn't playing Georgia, Tennessee, or Florida, their 3 biggest SEC rivals. Yeah. People are looking around this sucks. Everything, all the tradition we've grown up with is gone, and it's what for what?
Texas. That's the sad thing about college football. The traditions we've talked about, rivalries with all these conferences. It's there's still some that exist. You have Michigan, Ohio State. I mean, there's still some that exist, but a lot of them have just died off. And I think it's turned into this transactional mentality, this tradition that we've had for so long. Sticking with your team, whatever it is just.
Because who's Boise State's rival now?
I don't know.
No.
Crickets.
Washington State.
Utah State, we've beaten them 21 out of 22. Yeah. That's not a rival.
Speaking of that, there's some good conversation going on about Washington State. That could be our new semi-rival. And have it be the Snake River rivalry or the Bigfoot, the Sasquatch rivalry or something. So I thought that was actually cool. That's why, going back to the conference, man, if you have good teams that are competitive, you get better. Right? I mean, you just get better. And so that it really does rob us a little bit of much better football, a much better competitive football league, and something that we could look to and have some pride in as far as the teams that are in there. Because in the WAC and in the Mountain West, we always knew the bottom 4 teams were just there to knock us off.
And those fans of those teams don't show up.
They don't care.
Right? They don't care. And it's so if we're playing better teams and there's some rivalries, hopefully some other teams will show up or their fan base will show up.
And that is the silver lining to all this, is that everyone in the Pac-7 at the moment, and even Utah State to some extent, their fans care. They show up. So, grab one more, call it good, play everyone every year, see what happens with the ACC, see if it falls apart, see what happens.
ACC.
No, the ACC,
it's not the ACC.
No, the ACC, there's
try and grab,
Stanford
but Cal.
I don't think you need to go and grab UTEP, Texas State, this, that, and the other. At this point, it's not going to be a whole lot better. If you're not going to just combine Mountain West and Pac-12, get one more that's fairly regional and just call it what it is.
You know what they could keep doing, though? This is an option. It's waiting for other things to go bad for other schools. But if you said if the Pac-6 stays alive for another 2 years, and the let's just say Oregon State and Washington State just hang around with that money, and then the ACC blows up, and now Cal and Stanford have an opening, and then they say, hey, let's get the band back together. Let's grab Boise State. Let's grab, maybe Memphis joins now, and now we have a solid conference that, I don't know.
What if a school?
A lot of stuff could happen.
What if a school like Vandy was like, look, it's not working out in the SEC for us.
They'll never give up the money.
The TV money is otherworldly.
Yeah. No, Vandy's at the party, and they're in the corner we're just here.
It's fine.
We're just you guys do your thing. Don't look at us. No attention to us is the best. But I don't know. A lot of stuff happening there.
Let's do a quick preview of the Washington State game.
Washington State, yeah.
So we get to 5 questions.
Thoughts, Jordan from afar. What do you see in here?
I thought Washington State's defense looked terrible last week against San Jose State.
They did.
They just did not get anything going. So that was really weird. I love Washington State's quarterback, Mateer. He is so fun to watch. And so that was cool. But I think the big question is just how does Boise State's secondary match up to a quarterback like that?
Speaking of secondary, Mark asked a question at the press
sure
conference
did.
about the
Did you?
secondary.
That was a decent question.
Did.
Yeah, I did.
Was
I
it
did.
scary? Did you have
A little
nerves?
bit.
Little butterflies?
I was the first one.
Yeah, Matt asked
So,
a question
come on.
too.
And they credited Mark's comment with my name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On the transcript, it
Or
says
his
Matt
question.
Lamb. I did. I asked Shenander. He's definitely the easiest
He's
to
the
ask
easiest
a question
one.
to.
Because by the time he gets up, everybody is kind of tired of asking
Yeah,
questions.
they're not chomping at the bit. The other guys, they are on top of each other, and I'm
Yeah.
not gonna like cut off BJ or one of the
And then
professionals.
Shenander comes out.
Shenander's like just kind of like, all right, I
Wait,
don't want to talk.
They did Danielson, then the coordinators?
Yeah,
Every game?
like no, sorry, every Monday.
Oh, you went
Yeah.
to the Monday one.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So that's the big question, man. Until we can. When was the last time we played really well against a solid quarterback? And
Well, last year. Are you talking about just last year?
tell me about last year.
Who's a solid quarterback?
No.
Who's a solid quarterback?
Played very few last year, but
Michael
UNLV.
Penix Jr.
UNLV.
I don't know.
They had in the Mountain West Championship game. I don't know how good of a quarterback he is ultimately.
Yeah, we played well in that game.
Yeah. I don't think there were any in the previous 2 years.
I mean, we struggle until we do it. I just, Mikey Keene tore us up, right? Like, we've just been getting. We'll see.
Well, I thought we played decent
see.
at Oregon this year against a good quarterback.
I mean, he went 18 for 21
Okay. I mean,
for
we
300
still
yards.
Yeah, but we
no
still got off the
picks.
field on third downs. I mean, the defense as a whole got off the field. Like, the defense held them to 20 points. A really good Oregon team, right? Is Oregon offense better than Washington State offense?
Statistically, no, but they probably,
Probably,
are. Yeah, I
Better
they probably
athletes.
are. Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, they could at least hang their hat on that and say, "Hey guys,
What did
this isn't the."
So there was something in that. I think that I don't know. I haven't seen anything that tells me that our DBs can do a whole lot against a solid quarterback. They didn't against Oregon. They didn't. I mean, he had 3 incompletions. 2 were overthrows and guys that were wide open, ready for a touchdown.
Yeah,
That's true.
So, and then he had 4 explosives. They just didn't throw it more. I don't know why they didn't, but they didn't throw it a ton. So I don't know. I mean, that's the question. How can our offense should score? Their defense isn't great. Our offense is really good, but can we get some stops?
What did you guys think last week of them pulling Genty that early? Because I am like an East Coaster now, and it's like all I care about is like this Ashton Genty Heisman thing. And like I was like pissed. I was like, come on, I want to see him go for 400 yards.
I think they should have given him the touchdown instead of Madsen.
Yeah, the
that's
second
kind of crazy.
Like, that's an easy one. You're close. Just hand it to Genty.
Yeah.
Pulling him that early.
I mean,
you don't want to get him hurt.
You can't get him hurt.
So
And you know what the reality is, and I don't know how close you're following the depth chart, but number 2 and 3 are both injured.
Yeah.
So it's like you can't afford another injury.
That's fair.
I think pulling him was okay. Although we all, you want to see him go over 200.
It would have been cool to get maybe one more explosive play out of it.
Yeah.
Sure.
one more
highlight.
70-yard run.
One more highlight.
Yeah.
Because he could have. He could have. Because all the running backs were. So
I mean, that run was only 68 yards, but every game he's had the almost 70-yard run.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even the fourth string guy was getting some big plays. And so we're like, hey, get him in one more time. But I think looking back, he needs to keep having big games, and I think everybody knows that. And so, I don't know. It's probably going to be an offensive battle, and I like the fact that we're at home.
Yeah.
That adds to it.
What do you predict, Jordan? Who you got winning?
I think Boise State wins.
Yes,
I just can't. Like they're going to have the best player on every game they play in the whole season. So it's just like, how do you count them out? And
That QB's good. Their QB. Their
Mateer?
QB's good. He's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought Maddox has played really well, decent so far. I don't know.
Sorry, go ahead.
I don't think they're asking him to do a whole lot. It's like he doesn't need to be like Superman. It's like, hey, just make a couple completions. You have really good wide receivers, and you have the best running back in college football. Just let him go.
He's got a good job because most of the time Genty gets a couple yards of play. So if they run on 1st and 2nd, it's like 3rd and 4 or 3rd and 3.
Yeah.
And so it's like you could run or do just a drop down or whatever to get the first down. So I mean he's in very few situations where it's 3rd and 12 or 3rd and 15 and they have to do some big time throws. But
We ready?
I'm ready.
Jordan, are you ready for 5 questions?
I am.
That wasn't one of the questions, but did you study last night?
No.
Good. You can't.
It wouldn't have helped.
Yeah, I was going to say. I was like, what?
Have you seen this segment before?
No.
Okay. So anytime we have a guest on, I ask them 5 questions.
Okay.
They don't really have any rhyme or reason to them. So just kind of roll with it. They're according to me. You want to answer what you think how I would answer the question.
Okay.
On some of them.
Okay.
But we'll get to it. We're going to start off with geography.
Nobody's gone 5 for 5.
No one's gone 5 for 5. You could be the first, but no pressure. BJ Rains thought he was going to be 5 for 5. Didn't happen. Do you live in Columbia?
Yes.
You live in Columbia. Okay, South Carolina. So true or false, Columbia, South Carolina was the first U.S. city named after Christopher Columbus. True or false?
False.
We're off to a bad start.
Oh my God. Was it really?
First one, yeah.
Wow. That was the first one. The first one named after Christopher Columbus.
Yeah, U.S. city named after him.
Oh, okay.
I was just thinking, I'm like, if that were true, I would have heard about it by now.
Yeah.
Now I'm gonna start using that. They say, they're like, where do you live? I'm like, first place in the U.S. It was named after Columbus. No big deal.
Never heard of it?
Yeah, sorry.
And they're like, we hate that guy.
Yeah. Change that.
Why would you claim that?
Perhaps that's why I haven't heard about it. Yeah. They're trying to distance themselves from that.
They erased it. I had to dig through some history books to find that.
Wow.
All right, we're 0 for 1. Question 2. How many times did Mark cheer last Saturday in the press box?
Oh.
When he shouldn't have been cheering.
Tough ones. You're giving them tough ones.
I heard it was at least one.
There's at least one.
Okay, we'll go within 2.
I'll say 3.
Mark?
That's correct.
3.
That's correct.
He's on the board.
How many more before you get kicked out?
I'm sidelining myself this week.
Would you get kicked out?
So I've never seen it. I've seen people get yelled at.
Oh, really?
By
Yeah.
who? By other journalists?
No, it's by like the SID, the person who like runs the press box.
Like, don't do that anymore.
It's, hey guys, it's a working press box. And it usually has to be pretty aggressive to the point that everyone can hear it. And the only time I've ever heard another one is like when it's after the game, there's people actually working and there's just a couple people just yammering on. Just, it's like, hey, there's some people just like trying to finish up. It's like midnight. Can you just shut up or leave?
Thoughts on videoing.
I did some filming.
I don't think that's a big deal. I heard that. I thought that was weird that people thought that was odd. I don't think it's a big deal at all.
That's how I interpreted it.
No, I don't
It didn't
think
go well for me.
I don't think that's a big deal. Tell them to
Filming
loosen
other
up.
journalists for their take mid-game.
Not a big deal.
Yeah, BJ told him to.
BJ's like,
Eat
dude,
rocks.
it's a working.
BJ would do that all the time. Come on.
Yeah. No, there you go.
You should have posted that clip of him yelling
did.
at you.
I
Good.
did. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
The Johnny Mallory one didn't make it.
Yeah.
Which is, he would do the same thing.
I gotta bait him into filming me sometime.
All right, question 3. If you could have only one Mexican food for the rest of your life, out of these 3, which one would it be?
Okay.
Huh.
Tacos, enchiladas, or quesadillas? Now, this is according to what I would think, and you don't know me.
This is Matt's preference. Tacos,
Enchiladas, or quesadillas. You don't have to eat it every day for the rest of your life, but if you can't, you can only pick one.
So I think the
rest
two
will
are.
go away.
I'm going to go with the one that doesn't seem obvious, the enchiladas.
It was tacos.
Damn it, that's what I thought. But I was
Yeah.
trying to.
tacos are amazing.
It's off to a bad start.
Yeah, tacos are amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Street tacos. Not the ones. Not that my mom's a bad cook; she's a great cook. But growing up, we would have hard shell tacos.
Those were the worst.
Ground beef, ketchup,
Always
heard that.
ketchup at the Lamb House.
I heard that. Wait, with cheddar cheese?
cheddar cheese. Like, what are we doing? No salsa.
That's insane. That's like something they would do in the Great
Arizona.
Depression.
Ketchup.
We couldn't afford salsa. We had ketchup. Hope it works. Yeah.
And maybe that's not my mom. Maybe that's something I did.
Call
but
out
that's
to
what I
Katie.
remember. Yeah. We'd have
Defend
we'd
yourself,
have
Katie.
ketchup on our steak as well.
Ooh.
And if there was any pink on your steak, throw it in the microwave.
Oh my God. Katie's not getting
Sorry.
a good name here.
Yeah. All right, Jordan. Question 4.
Come on, Jordan.
We're 1 for
No.
2.
Bring
We're
it
1
home.
for 3.
Bring
Okay.
it home.
Question 4. According to LinkedIn, your LinkedIn profile.
Oh.
I haven't touched the LinkedIn profile in a while.
You worked for 98.7 FM.
Yeah.
Which is Arizona's sports station.
That's their name.
Okay.
What was the exact title of the position you held there according to your LinkedIn?
Wow.
According to LinkedIn, I don't know because I bet I just fudged it a lot. Because all it was a really boring summer internship that probably was like 12 hours.
So it's 2 words.
It wouldn't have been summer intern. It would have been something sports writer,
Intern is one of the words. You said intern, I'll give you that.
Sports intern? Intern, hold on.
Did I hear that? Did I hear that right?
No, I don't think you did. That was muted.
Intern.
So it was what kind of work did you do? Like,
writing?
Was it anything with social media or the internet or like websites or
website intern? I don't know.
Web intern.
Web intern. Okay.
You just gave it to him. Yeah, he threw it on.
Wow.
His own job.
Is that accurate or was that fluff?
No, that's pretty accurate.
I was trying to web intern.
What's a web intern? See, that's a great. Why did I put that on my LinkedIn? If people are asking questions, it was like literally you worked for the website and wrote stories as an intern.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Web intern. But I could have even fluffed that up.
It sounds good.
It does. Okay, good.
Yeah. All right. Well, 2 for 2. 2 for 4.
That is just generous. That was a
tough one. Now I'm gonna go.
Was a tough
I need to start deleting some stuff off.
It's a tough one. You wrote it yourself, bro.
Had to be 7 years ago.
Yeah. Well,
hey, you have a job now, so
exactly.
It worked.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's the nice part.
That's kind of a weird one, but name 3 brands of bottled water.
Dasani.
Check.
Voss.
Check.
Voss. I've never heard of Voss.
Arrowhead.
Arrowhead.
I didn't know if Kirkland counted.
That was quick.
You got it. 3 for 5.
3 for 5. That's pretty par for the course.
What would you have done, Brandon?
Fiji.
We all want to know.
Fiji is
smart
the
water.
best.
I love smart water.
You do. Does it work?
Very smart.
Thanks for playing 5 questions, Jordan.
Wow.
You hit the average.
Nice.
Yeah.
Average.
You hit the average. 3 for 5 is the average.
Sweet.
I'm just glad I got the Christopher Columbus thing in my back pocket now.
So you're going to the game, the Boise State Wazoo game.
Yeah.
You guys see. So does your wife's family have tickets, or you guys were able to purchase tickets? Because interesting information here. As of a few days ago, the sold out game, right? The tickets to the Boise State Wazoo game were number 2 on expensive in the country for this weekend.
So we
on
the
have secondary
tickets.
market.
Her family got some, I think, a long time ago. But I think the reason for that, because I saw that too, and I was like, holy crap.
Yeah, right.
I think the reason is because Boise State has 20,000 season ticket holders in a stadium that only has 37,000 seats.
Sure.
So
yeah.
And then Wazoo gets a couple thousand.
Yeah,
then there's the student tickets, and all of a sudden you start looking around. It's like there are no open tickets to be sold. And if all your season ticket holders want to go to the game, it becomes like a really hard secondary market.
Yeah.
So, but that is crazy because I was looking up Georgia Alabama tickets for fun, and I was like, oh, $320, that's crazy. Then Boise State Wazoo is like $250. I was like, what?
Yeah. It's going to be electric this weekend.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've had that type of game, and since we've had that type of demand.
Yeah,
for a game. So
I love the night atmosphere. How did the speaker sound last week? Couldn't hear in the press box.
We talked about this a little bit on Sunday. Yeah, in the press box, I
can't hear anything.
Didn't hear it nearly as much. I'm going to be down with my family this weekend, so I will report back. But
me and Brandon will be there, right?
But you guys will be in the press box.
Working away. Working away, baby.
I was wondering, do you guys bring a laptop, or are you just sitting there?
I'll have mine. Brandon had his.
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
We were posting videos, and we were doing. We were trying to spot fans on the camera, like zoom it in,
like of the subscribers. Yeah. Like, hey, tell us where you're at.
And we're just trying to take a picture of them and post on Twitter and be like, we found you.
You should do is get one of the, if you get binoculars, you can see people.
Yeah.
Can you put your camera, your phone camera
That's
in
a
the
great idea.
That's a great binoculars.
Idea. We need to because
and then have people say, here's where I'm sitting, and then see if you can find it.
Exactly.
Like,
that's what we want to do.
We got a picture of Dayton.
We got a picture of Dayton.
I got a picture of Dave Southern wearing his jacket.
Did you?
Yeah. You didn't see that?
Were you the one? Was it out in front of the stadium?
No.
Oh,
that was
I saw him.
Oh,
yeah.
I was going to say.
He said, I'm the best dressed one at the tailgate.
Yeah.
With his jacket.
Probably was.
And I went down to go sit with my brother at halftime. I look over. Dave Southern's right there. So I take a picture of him. And he didn't see me. And I was like, and the best dressed one in the stadium.
Yeah, he was.
So,
so that's what we're trying to do. Just because there's a bunch of people that post about the game.
Yeah, there's no point.
So it's like, for us, it was just like comments.
It is nice, though, when you're in the press box, if you didn't have to, do any work, just scrolling on Twitter, watching the game.
Yeah, because we look over, and everyone's got their head down. They got, two...
Okay, but they're, they're not actually doing anything. Like most of the time.
Ouch.
Secrets revealed.
At most of the time during the games, at least during the first half, I am just scrolling through Twitter. I'm just like, oh, this is interesting. And so you're typing and it looks like I'm doing a lot of work. And like all I'm typing is like Genty big run. Or something on Twitter. And it's like, you're just tweeting.
Yeah, it was a lot of tweeting.
The second half, if you're like, writing a story, then it's like, all right, they might actually be. Like first half, I can look really busy. I'm not doing anything.
Yeah.
So we were fooled then.
Well, they fooled us.
Perhaps. It looked like they
definitely
were
fooled us. It is fun.
Well, tweeting is working. That's why I tell my girlfriend,
Absolutely.
like, hey, I'm always
Hard
working.
work.
Yeah.
Hard work. Well, it was nice to have like internet and like a desk so that you could type some tweets out and sling them around. But we were just trying to do dumb stuff.
We're still brainstorming a little bit how to make it most like we're not making a mockery. Like it's cool we have that access, so we are trying to
I don't
figure out how to make it useful and
a different experience from people tweeting like Genty had a big run.
Yeah,
like there's 4 or 5 other guys doing that. They don't need another one. So
yeah.
Anyway,
so we'll see.
I love it.
it's a good time.
Good time.
Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, Jordan,
dude.
thanks for coming on. Thanks for taking time out of your trip to Boise to come visit us. If you're watching this on YouTube, which you should be,
Yes.
Mark's
family.
Shout out to Mark's family, Diane.
I think they listen. They all listen to it on Apple.
They're listeners.
I don't think any of them will watch it. Yeah.
Will they ever convert, do you think?
If we quit posting on Apple, maybe.
Do they subscribe on YouTube?
I don't know,
should.
but they should. We could use this. We could use this stuff.
Subscribe. Tell your friends. Follow Jordan Kaye on Twitter.
Yes.
Check out his profile pic with Indianapolis. if nothing else.
Now I need to go post about Boise State this week. Maybe I'll just live tweet from the stands.
There you
go.
Like Genty big run.
Well, tweet at Shirts and Skins. We'll take a picture of it.
will.
There you go.
There you go. We've got the game Saturday night. We will be back in studio Sunday, and we'll drop the podcast probably Sunday
night.
Damn.
Let's do it.
We'll catch you next time. Go Broncos.